Good morning everyone. Today topic food chain and its types. This topic covered under ecosystem and ecology. Now what is food chain is a sequential network of organisms where each organisms eats first below it and eaten by the one above it. In simple term, food chain is also described as who eats whom. Food chain can also we can describe like who eats whom. It means that, for example, in ecosystem, if you have grass, so grass eaten by deer and these deer eaten by lion. So like a sequential network of organism, so where each organisms eats the one below it. For example, deer eat the grass and eaten by the one above it, means deer eaten by the lion. So likewise, who eats whom, the sequential network of organisms are known to be as a food chain. And here, why this food chain means, the main importance of food chain is it illustrates the how energy moves from one living being to another living being, from one living being to another living. And every food chain important, every food chain start with source of energy. Every food chain will start with a source of energy. Here the ultimate source of energy is sunlight. Ultimate source of energy is sunlight. And this energy, sunlight energy, which moves through different steps, and each steps here called trophic level. For example, here if you have, for example, here, so like this pyramid type of flow of energy. So here at bottom we have tropic level 1, tropic level 2, tropic 3, tropic level 4, like that. So here the every food chain will start with a source of energy by using sunlight. And by using sunlight, the organism which present or which form at the tropic level 1, which prepare their own food, means they act as a producers, and from producer the energy will transfer to the another trophic level. And likewise, each and every trophic level there are set of organisms are present, and here this source of energy will move from one trophic level to another trophic level. Now we will move on structure of food chain. Generally, in every food chain, there are four important components or structures are present. Like first, most important, that is producers, and second one is primary consumers, and a third, secondary consumer, and fourth, top or tertiary consumers. Here we will discuss each steps in detail with the help of pyramid. Here, what exactly producers? Here, this producer form first step in trophic level of food chain. It form first step in trophic level of food chain, and these always present at the bottom of the food chain. Present, they form always at bottom. For example, here if you draw one food chain in the form of pyramid like this, so here it is a first trophic level. So here we have seen producers, and it is a form first step in trophic level of food chain, and they form always in the bottom. And important here about producers, they make their own food by using sunlight as a source of energy. By using sunlight as a source of energy through the process called photo. So they make their own food here. These producers make their own food by using source of energy, that is sunlight, through the process called photosynthesis. So this is the first and most important component of the trophic level of food chains. Now coming to primary consumers. So this primary consumer form second step in trophic level. They form second step in, here means here, trophic level of food chain, and they form above the producers, like here. So this is the primary consumers. They form above the producer, and these primary consumers, they form above the producers. And animals here in these primary consumers include animals, and these animals eats the plants. Animals that eats the plants. If any animals which eat the plants, such animals are called herbivores. So here in primary consumers generally include herb, and it form the second step in the trophic level of food chain. Now coming to secondary consumers here, and The secondary consumer form third steps in trophic level of food chain, and these secondary consumers form above the primary consumer. They form above the primary consumers. Here, this is what secondary consumers at third, and this here second trophic level, third trophic level. And important here, these secondary consumers animals, here animals are there. These animals that eat the other animals. Here in secondary consumers, the organisms are animals. So here animals that eats other animals. If animals which eat other animals, such animals are called carni. Means the secondary consumers include carni. Now coming to last and most important structure of food chain, that is tertiary consumers. So here generally tertiary consumers at top steps in trophic level of food chain. So here we have top or fourth trophic level. Here we have tertiary consumers. Here top of the trophic level of food chains, and they form above the secondary consumer. They form above the secondary consumers. And here in which tertiary consumers, here also animals that eats other animals. Such animals also we can use the term carnivores, but here we can use top carnivores. Means these top carnivores animals, they won't eat by any other animals unless it occur its natural death. Means they placed at top positions. For example, lion. This lion won't eat by any other animals. Hence they are called top carnivores. So likewise we have, there are four important structure of food chain. So here see, so in primary it is a first at bottom, first step is producers, and these producers they can make their own food by process of photosynthesis by using sunlight as a source of energy. And generally producers comes like green plants and grasses, like that plants generally include plants. And here primary consumers, so these animals which eat the plants called herbivores. Primary consumers include herbivores animals. And here secondary consumers, and these consumers here also animals that eat the another animals, hence they are called carni. So here in tertiary consumers, here also animals that eat the another animal, but they are in the top positions and they won't eat by any other animals, hence they are called top carnivores. So top carnivores generally tertiary consumers, carnivores generally secondary consumers, herbivores are generally primary consumers, and producers always plants. So likewise every food chains are made up of with these four important structures or components. Yes, now we move on key features of this food chain. Key features of the food chain. So NCERT highly specified two important features of the food chain. So we will discuss those two features. Yes. One is unidirectional flow of energy. Here it means that energy flows in only one direction. Very important. Energy flows only in one direction. Like that is from producers to primary consumers to secondary consumers to tertiary consumers. Only in one direction the energy will be flow, but never flow back. But never flow back. Remember, very important one. Never flow back. Only energy flow in only in one directions. And one more important key feature of this food chain is 10% law of energy. So it means that only about 10% of energy is transferred from one trophic level, means one organism, to next trophic level, another organisms. One organism to another organism, or also we can use one trophic level to another trophic level. Only 10% of energy will be transferred. And what about 90% rest of the energy? See, this rest of the energy which loss in the form of heat, the rest of the energy get lost. Only 10% of energy will transfer from one organism to another organism, or one trophic level to the next trophic level. And this law of 10% law of energy was proposed by a scientist called Raymond Lind. Raymond Lindman is a scientist. He was first time he proposed this 10% law of energy in 1942. Hence, this 10% law of energy, also called Lindman law of energy flow. So this is all about the key features of the important key features of the food chains. So This is all about the food chain. Now we move on types of food chains. Yes, types of food chains. Generally, food chains are classified based on two criteria. Food chains are classified into different categories. Like they are based on habitat or ecosystem, are also based on, also food chains are classified based on source of energy. So these two criteria based on which we can classify the food chain into two different categories. Like based on habitat or ecosystem, these food chains are classified into two categories. Like there, if the food chains are present on land, such food chain is called terrestrial food chain or terrestrial ecosystem or terrestrial food chain. Terrestrial food chain or terrestrial ecosystem. If these food chains present in water, then it is called aquatic food chain. And coming to based on source of energy, these food chains are classified into two categories. Like one is grazing food chain, second one is detritus chain. So simply we can call DFC, detritus food chain, and grazing food chain, GF. So these two types based on the source of energy. And again, this grazing food chain classified again into two types based on size of the organism and number of the organism. Size and number of the organism. This grazing food chains again classified into two categories. Like they are predator food chain and one more is parasitic food chain. Food predator and parasitic. These two comes under grazing food chain and detritus food chains. Both are classified based on the source of energy. Here, based on the habitat, we can classify them into terrestrial if they are present on land, or aquatic food chain based on the presence of in water. So, likewise, we classify the food chain into different types. Now we will move on very important concepts in which first we will discuss how terrestrial food chain will form and aquatic food chain, and then grazing and detritus likewise. Yes. So first, in which we mainly focus on grazing. Based on the source of energy, we can classify them into grazing and detritus food chain. We focus on that one. Yes. So based on source of energy, two types of food chain. So here we will go through in depth detail. Yes. So first one is grazing food chain. One more is detritus food chain. We will discuss in depth about grazing and DFC, detritus food chain. First we will move. First we will discuss about grazing food chain. Yes, about grazing food chain. Here I am writing. So this grazing food chain always start with green plants. Or green plants are generally placed as a producers or producers. And these green plant or producers are generally what? They are photosynthetic autotrophic organisms. Photosynthetic autotrophs. So always this GFC grazing food chain start with green plants, or also we can use the term producers. And green plants are producers are nothing but they are photosynthetic autotrophs. Okay. And here about grazing food chain, the primary energy source here in which always primary energy source. The primary energy source always sunlight, or simply we can use another term solar radiation. Solar radiation. Remember, this GFC is a major pathway, very important. This GFC is the major pathway for energy flow in most aquatic ecosystem or most aquatic food chain. Very important. Most aquatic ecosystem or aquatic food chain. So GFC is the major pathway for energy flow in most aquatic ecosystem or aquatic food chain rather than DFC. So in this system, in this aquatic ecosystem, large fraction of energy flow in this, here important note, in this aquatic ecosystem, most fraction of energy flow through GFC compared to the DFC. Very important point. So most fraction of energy flow occur through GFC in aquatic ecosystem rather than DFC. Very important point here. How means, for example, here we will need to draw one aquatic ecosystem diagram so that you can easily understood how this energy flow will be occur in aquatic ecosystem through GFC. For example, here, yeah, here. So, okay, fine. So here in aquatic food chain or ecosystem, so in which here at the first trophic level there is an organism which is placed that is called phytoplankton, and these phytoplanktons act as a producers, and this phytoplankton was eaten by the zooplanktons, and this zooplankton placed in second trophic level, and they are primary consumers, or also we can use the plant eaten animals, hence they are herbivores. And at third, this zooplankton was eaten by small fish at third trophic level, and this comes under secondary consumers, or also we can use the term carnivores, the small fish animals which eat the zooplanktons animals, carni, and these small fish eaten by the large fish, and which is placed at fourth trophic level. And this is the third tertiary consumers, or simply we can use primary carnivores. And these large fishes eaten by the birds, and birds at fifth trophic level, and it is the largest, and it is occupied the highest position in the pyramid or food chains, hence it can be said to as a fourth consumers, means quarterly consumers, or also we can use top carnivores, like that. So this is all about the aquatic food chain. So in this aquatic food chain, at first trophic level, phytoplankton eaten by zooplankton eaten by small fish eaten by large fish eaten by the birds. So likewise, the flow of energy, so maximum occur in aquatic ecosystem through this GFC. Why? Because here these phytoplanktons prepare their own food by using solar radiation by process called photosynthesis, hence they are placed at the producer's level. So once they fix and they prepare their own food by photosynthesis, then this phytoplankton provide some kind of energy to the zooplankton. So likewise, this food chain will be started. So hence very important in aquatic ecosystem. So most of the fraction of energy which flow through the GFC rather than DFC. Okay, so this is all about the GFC. And here we need to discuss another important types in GFC. So GFC also can be divided into two types based on two criteria. Here we'll discuss based on two criteria. GFC can be divided into two types. Those two criteria are: one, size of the organism, based on size of the organisms, and second one more criteria, that is number of the organism. So based on these two criteria, the GFC grazing food chain are classified into two types. They are, here I am writing, there are two types. Yes. So they are: first one, predator food chain, here pre food chain. Second one is parasitic food chain, predator and parasitic food chains. So very important point here, in predator food chains, typically generally which start from smaller organisms and moves towards the larger organism. So important point here I am writing. So in predator food chain, here from here I am writing, this predator food chain starts from smaller organisms and moves towards larger organisms. For example, here in this predator food chain, how they are formed means, and start with grass, and this grass eaten by the grass insect. See, start with small organism. Grass is a small, and grasshoppers, and then this grasshopper eaten by the frog, and here the size will be increases, and frog was eaten by the snake, and snake was eaten by the hawk. So if you observe this food chain at a producer level, that is grass is a smaller organism. At top carnivorous, hawk is a top carnivorous, it is a size is some bigger than producers, means in a from grass to hawk the size will be increases and the number of organism is completely decreases. So that's why this predator food chain, which mainly focus on, in which size will be increase but the number of organism is decrease. So this is the important concept in predator food chains. Okay. And here in which generally this type of predator food chain, which is generally seen in grassland ecosystem, seen in or found in grassland eco, and in which grassland ecosystem or predator food chain, the pyramid of number is always upright. Very good. So because here predators are highly abundant, and top predators are few. Only few top predators, means here number of predators will be decrease, but here at the bottom, means at the producer level, the number of predators are abundant. So increase from bottom to top, and the size of these organisms are increase from bottom to top, the number of organisms are decrease from bottom to top. Hence, these organisms shows always upright pyramids. So just now we discussed like this. So here, for example, if you place, yes, so here grass, here grasshoppers, and frog, snakes, and hogs. See, so here grass, the size is decrease and number will increase. Grass, grasshopper, and small sorry, frog and snakes and hog. So this pyramid, the number of pyramid is always shows upright. Why? Because at the bottom the size of the grass is less and the number will be more. So that is the main important concept of this predator food chain. So remember, pyramid of number in predator food chain or grassland ecosystem is always upright. Okay, right. We move on. How parasitic food chain will be formed? Yes, here parasitic food chain. Yes. So this parasitic food chain, it starts from larger organisms and moves towards smaller organisms. This type, for example, here, and very important, in this size will be decrease. In this pyramid, size will be decrease, but number of organism will be increase. Number of organism will be increase. Yes. And this type of parasitic food chains are generally seen in tree ecosystem. Found in tree ecosystem. For example, here, say this is an inverted pyramid generally. So here at the bottom means at the producer, here we have tree. Here first we'll write here. So for example, here tree. So on tree there are number of birds are there. So these birds eat the parasites. These parasites which eat the hyper, and these hyper parasites are decomposed by D. So, and this type of ecosystems is seen in tree ecosystems. So at bottom means here at first trophic level are as a producers occupied by the a large tree, and these single large tree which support the number of birds. See here the number will only one, but it many birds are many, means from bottom to top the number will be the number of organism what increase. Okay, but the size of the organism is decrease. How means, see birds, and these birds eaten by the sorry here parasites, and these parasites eaten by the hyperparasites, and these hyperparasites increase by number of decomposers. So generally decomposers are heterotrophic organisms like bacteria and fungi. See, from bottom to top the number of organism will be increased gradually. For example, here tree only we have, for example birds if you have 10, and parasites if you have like 50, and a hyperparasite like 100, and decomposers are thousands. See what happened, from bottom to top the number of organism will be increase, and at the same time from bottom to top the size of the organism is decrease. Here tree has a huge size compared to birds. Bird size will be less than tree, and birds compared to parasites, the size of the parasite compared to birds is somewhat smaller. Like that, the size of the organism from bottom to top is decrease, the number of organism from bottom to top is increase. So this type of food chain is known to be as a parasitic food chain. If you observe this pyramid, then if you have the number of pyramid is inverted pyramid, the number of pyramid here in which pyramid of number is inverted, very important, inverted pyramid are seen in this tree ecosystem are parasitic food chains. So this is all about the parasitic food chain. So this parasitic food chain and predator food chain both are belongs to, or both are classified under the grazing food chain, and these two classification are exclusively made on the size and number of organisms. So remember, in predator food chain the size will increase, number will be decrease, but in parasitic food chain size will decrease, number will increase. So that is the major differences. Okay, right. So with this we complete grazing food chain. Now we move on one more important food chain, so that is detritus food chains. Yes, sorry, detritus food chain, or simply we can use d detritus food chain. Here, the DFC play important role or critical role in nutrient recycling. So, why detritus food chain will occur means play critical role in nutrient recycling and energy transfer on land. How means we will discuss. Why? Because without DFC, there is no transfer of energy which is occurring generally in land. Because so after dead of remain of dead body of animals and plants, they have some kind of nutrients in with, and if they are those dead bodies are remnant of the body of animals and plants, they contain various nutrient. So that nutrient must and should be recycled. So that recycling process is occurred only because of this food chain, that is detritus food chain. So how this process will occur, we will discuss. And here it always begins start with dead organic matter, very important. Here this detritus food chain, it always starts or begin with dead organic matter. Dead organic matter. Here dead organic matter also we can use the important biology term, that is detritus or dead organic matter. The dead organic matter means generally which include fallen leaves and like plant waste and dead animal remains. So all these are include as a dead organic matter or detritus. And this detritus or dead organic matter is the basic, and it is a starting point to the detritus food chain. And these dead organic matter or detritus which occupy the first step in trophic level, and these detritus organic matter was decomposed by some heterotrophic organisms like fungi and bacteria. Hence, they are said to be as a D, or also called sapro decomposers or sapro. So, to decompose this dead organic matter involves some kind of microbes as a decomposers, like they are heterotrophic organism microbes like bacteria and fungi. And here very important, the primary energy source here, in which primary energy source for the detritus food chain means chemical energy. Here chemical energy. So in grazing food chain, the primary energy source is solar energy and sunlight energy. But here in detritus food chain, the primary energy is chemical energy, and this chemical energy stored in dead organic matter, that is detritus. And here in which DFC, very important point here, DFC is the major pathway for energy flow in terrestrial ecosystem, very important. So important point here, DFC detritus food chain is the major pathway for energy flow in terrestrial ecosystem, means land ecosystem. And just now we discussed about grazing food chain is a major pathway for energy flow in aquatic ecosystem, but this DFC is the major pathway for energy flow in terrestrial ecosystem. Here notice important note here, in terrestrial ecosystem a much larger fraction of energy flow through DFC. A much in terrestrial ecosystem, a much larger fraction of energy flow through D than GFC. So just now we discuss about GFC. So there in aquatic ecosystem, a much larger fraction of energy flow through GFC than DFC. But in terrestrial ecosystem, large fraction of energy flow through DFC than GFC. That is the major differences between GFC and DFC. And how means here we will discuss how this detritus food chain will be occur. So here, for example, in which generally, so yeah, here we need to draw one pyramid. Okay, yes. So here, so in which detritus food chain at the bottom always D, the decomposers are nothing but they are like fungi and bacteria. So for example here at first bottom, here we have decomposers. So here this DFC start with decomposers, but the GFC start with producers. And these decomposers, generally this decomposer obtain its primary source of energy from the detritus. Remember, it obtained its energy from detritus. Here detritus nothing but dead organic matter. So in dead organic matter, the energy which is present in the form of chemical, and that chemical form of energy which is taken by these decomposers, and from these decomposers the energy will move to the another trophic level organisms here, and they are like decomposer. From decomposer the energy will goes to the detri, and from detrivores it goes to the carnivores. For example here decomposers, they may be fungi and bacteria. From this fungi and bacteria gives some kind of energy to the detrivores. Here detrivores are like for example earth, and then from this earthworm the energy will move to the upper side like carnivores. So here carnivores, it may be fishes, or sorry, not fishes, or birds, or any other organisms. So likewise, this DFC food chain will be started from decomposer to the top carnivores. So this DFC is a major pathway for energy flow in terrestrial ecosystems. So this is all about the important concept of entire food chain and its types. So that's it for today class, and here I have provided three important MCQs from this topic. Here you go. Yeah, here first MCQs. So consider the following statement regarding the detritus food chain. We are asking about detritus food chain, DFC. So which of the statement given above are correct? So identify the correct statement only. So here there are four options are there, statement type. So read this four statement and choose the right one, and drop your answer in comment box. So one more MCQs. So analyze this statement considering the difference and connection between food chains. So here asking about grazing food chain and DFC, both. And sorry, I forgot one important note here. I'm here explaining here only. Note. So GFC and DFC both are not completely isolated. One important point here. G grazing food chain and DFC detritus food chain both are not completely isolated. Means that the DAC, the detritus food chain, can be connected to the GFC at certain level. How means? For example, a earthworm, detrivores, earthworm. This earthworm, detrivores, can be eaten by this earthworm can be eaten by sparrow or cow, and sparrow and cow comes under birds, and these two are the parts of GFC, grazing food chains. So it means that, and earthworms are completely comes under DFC, and these earthworm can be eaten by sparrow or cow birds, and these two are comes under GFC. It means that GFC and DFC both are not completely isolated, and they are interconnected to each other at certain level. In this level, they are interconnected. So earthworm eaten by the sparrow or cow, like birds. So these kind of interconnection is called food web. Very important. Here I'm writing food web. So here food web is indicate or which illustrate the interconnection of different food chains together form food web. Why? Because yeah, GFC and DFC both are connected to each other at certain level. So hence they are considered to be as a food web. Okay, remember. Yes. So here analyze this second statement. Four options here. Which of these statements above are correct? And one more and last MCQs. Yes. So read this statement. Yeah. Consider the following comparison between predator food chain, parasitic food chain. So these two are comes under grazing food chain. So read this both variants of GFC and read this fourth statement and which of the statement above are correct. So that's it for today class, and with these three highly important NCERT based multi-statement MCQs I have provided you. So read this and analyze this, and drop your answer in comment box. So thank you. Have a nice day.